When looking for the king of podcasts, you're at the wrong channel.
Well, excuse me!
Looking for good ideas for life? You're far from good hands.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
If you think the listener is always right, you're far from the right place.
Out of order! Even in the future, nothing works!
Hosted by a Northeasterner by birth, but a rebel by choice.
Are you threatening me?
If you want a host that floats between love and madness,
and we know the night is always gonna be here anyway. Thinking of you's working up my appetite, looking forward to a little afternoon delight.
then play on and listen to Crazy Train Radio.
All right, guys, listen to this blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay?
Within the gaming world, there are your general gamers, but then there are those that enjoy the dark underbelly of gaming. If you're one of those that enjoy the dark underbelly of gaming, we certainly got the place to send you. Scorpion Lair Games. That's right, Scorpion Lair Games is the creators of the true crime hit Killers, the card game. Let's not forget they also have Killers Clothing Company, their profiler game, and things like the 5-Minute Murder channel on YouTube. And we certainly can't forget the new book that is certainly a hit, Beyond the Headliners, True Crimes, Myths, and Legends. Make sure you visit Jeff and the Scorpion Lair Games on Facebook and everywhere today.
Hey everybody, this is Cam Clarke. You may remember me from the King Family musical variety show, or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where I played Leonardo. And I am excited to be on Crazy Train Radio, so stay tuned.
Hey folks, it's your least favorite host in the podcast world, Croc, Jonathan Steele. And boy, do we have a good one for you today. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this next guest is truly part of a short list when it comes to family heritage and being in the entertainment field. Some might refer to the Barrymores, or they may refer to other famous families as well, so the Osbournes and everything. Or excuse me, not the Osbournes, the Osmonds. Some will refer to the Osmonds as one who's got length in time, but this gentleman, his family has truly been a part of the entertainment sphere since the 1920s. And he's got a book out. Now they're all here, the King family. But he's done so much on his own, and there are 4 generations in his family. But why don't we go ahead and welcome Mr. Cam Clarke.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Cam, how are you?
I am well, glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, that's a mouthful I think I had there, but what
Yeah.
why not? So, we'll start with the book and get that plug out of the way. So, this has got to be with the history, a huge ass table book or a coffee table book. Would you agree with that? Just with everything you have in this book?
Yeah, you might need an extra suitcase if you're going to travel with it. No, it's a beautiful coffee table book filled with uh, photographs, black and white, in color, and it is hefty indeed. But I'm really proud of it.
Well, and when I say, and we're saying that tongue in cheek about it being hefty and all, it's more than just a celebration of not only television history, but there's movie or music history, animation, voiceover history, etc. Truly a family album that has so much material, whether it be, you know, jazz and
Yeah,
vaudeville back in
it
the
is
20s,
literally
music just covers all spheres.
Yeah, it's literally 100 years of the entertainment industry, and my family, uh, it was involved in vaudeville when my moms were kids, and then radio days with the King Sisters, big band. My dad was in the horror, the B level horror pictures in the 50s. My uncle Alvino Ray was a big band leader. My uncle Jim founded Naris, the Grammys, in 1959. My cousins are Arcade Fire, an huge indie rock band that, over the past couple of decades. And our television show in the 60s and 70s, The King Family,
Hmm.
and cousin Tina Cole was one of the regulars on My Three Sons on this sitcom. And then it ends with my career in video games and animation and anime, which really brings us, there isn't an element of entertainment that isn't involved. And because of these photographs, like if you are a lover of, fashion or hair, mid-century campy entertainment, it literally has photos of costumes and everything, literally from the mid 20s through today.
And, there's journals and stuff, and there's things
Oh,
like older
yeah,
cousins with Doris Day and Glenn Campbell. And
yeah, and everything. I'd read a book on Truman Capote by George Plimpton, and at the beginning of this book, he says, "Hey, if you're looking for a straight up biography, I recommend so and so and so and so." So he's telling people to go someplace else. And then he says, "This book, pretend you're at a cocktail party, drifting from conversation to conversation." So I took his pattern because it was so fresh. When you read our book, now they're all here. It is all in first person, as you were saying. I've got diaries and newspaper interviews, and then had all my cousins add memoirs and stuff. So nobody speaks until they are alive. So in the 1930s, you've got the King sisters telling first person stories. And then in the 50s, it's all first person. And I'm born, right before the King family started. And that's when my cousins and I began speaking. Some of the older kids in the 50s, because they were doing the studio work with Doris Day and Frank Sinatra and Tex Ritter and all those folks. So nobody speaks for anything that they were not around for. So it's like being at one big
absolutely.
picket, one big picnic. I mean, just one picket picnic.
Now, the picketing was during the strike a couple years ago, but that's a whole nother story in itself. But, there was actually one thing I wanted to bring up involving your mom and siblings, which I thought was hilarious. Well, the line at the end was hilarious, I should say. And there was a gentleman that your mom was dating, and until she met your father, obviously, and but that gentleman would end up still babysitting your siblings and such. And
Yeah,
you want to tell that story?
sure. Um, the guy that dated mom, that they were seriously dating before mom met dad, was Dick Martin, who
Hmm.
was half of Rowan and Martin, which in the 60s had that huge television hit with Laugh-In. And they were already established, a duo of stand-up comedy. Um, and uh, when mom, tells her sons, obviously I wasn't born yet, that she's going to marry my dad, Bob Clarke, Ricky, who was about 7 at the time or something, he says, "Well, can't can Dick still have sleepovers? Can Dick still be our babysitter and stuff?" And, and actually, Dick did remain being their babysitter for a while when mom was going out with my dad. And I didn't even know this story. Mom never shared this with me. It's like insane. I was auditioning for a part on a sitcom, and across from me on the table, I'd made the callbacks, blah, 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 is Dick Martin. Now, I didn't know we had a family connection. And he sees my name and he goes, "Is your father Robert Clarke? And is your mom Alice King?" And I went, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, I dated your mom before she married your dad." And I was just blown away. Had no idea there was this connection.
That's actually pretty funny. When I was putting my notes together this afternoon, I'm like, that is great. And to still have a relationship to allow him to babysit and stuff, even when things were going the other way was,
Yeah, wild.
I wouldn't see it today. But I want to bring up the King family show. And you got involved, what, 6, 7 years old at the
Yeah.
time?
Uh,
What was that
the
like working on TV at the time?
well, like a lot of kids of show business parents who follow, whether it's, Liza Minnelli or, whoever, it's all I knew. Like when the moms were performing in the 40s and 50s, they started to have their family, the older kids in our group. And they would literally bring a laundry basket, stuff the kid in it and put it under the piano while they rehearsed. Um, so when I came along, the King sisters were asked to do this fundraiser in 1963. And my Aunt Yvonne just was like, "Hey, here's a wacky idea. Why don't we do a show with the kids?" It was literally just a what about this? No real thought behind it, if you know what I mean. Obviously
Hmm.
thought, but it was just like, wouldn't this be crazy? And so we did it. We got all the kids and the in-laws up on stage, and we tried it out a couple of times, and it was before we did the benefit, and it was received very well. And at the benefit, she had a film crew from the university film it, and it was crude. I don't know if it was Super 8, but for any of you who are old enough to know what Super 8 is,
I do.
it's the way a lot of us have our family films back in the day. Uh, and she had it filmed, and she took it to a guy she knew over at ABC and showed him all this black and white footage, shot with just college stage lighting. So not even, it was really crude, kind of guerrilla. And he watched it and he said, "I need you to cut this. I'm loving this. Cut it down to an hour and I'll present it." And he presented it to the suits at ABC, the brass, as we used to call them. And they said, "How soon can we get a pilot?" and that was the pilot aired in August of 1964, and letters poured in, back when letters could pour in, and we were on the air starting the winter of 65 in January, and never looked back.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, as things evolve, you ended up going to do animation for voiceover, whether it be anime, cartoons like He-Man in 2002, the Turtles, etc. And that was a new branch of entertainment. And we have fans who follow a lot of that stuff. So what was it like and yes, I just did that, folks. But what was it like for you back in the day? Because a lot of people now record at home, but I used to hear there was some fun, absolutely, for at the studios.
Yeah, and the operative words there are used to be some fun. The whole, as COVID came and changed so many things in the way we behave, in the way we work, in the way we approach and be with each other. As a crusty old man, I find none of it any good. You used to audition, and you'd walk into the room. You'd bring yourself. I would bring Cam into the audition. And the director, you'd do your bit, and the director would say, okay, bring it down a little bit, or make that a little bigger. Nowadays, you record at home, and you don't really know. So you send it in. But being on stage with other actors, like with the Ninja Turtles, we all recorded together, and it was such a blast. Like doing old-time radio shows, because we were all there in like a semicircle recording at the same time. And the same was such with He-Man and like with Clifford the Big Red Dog. And then they started recording people individually. And so there's no interaction, and you just do the best that you got, imagining how people are going to do their lines.
Well, is there a preference on what you prefer to do? Do you like being together because you can have interaction and such and bounce things?
Yeah, it's definitely more fun. Obviously, you get in and out quicker if you're by yourself. But the main thing I miss is the auditioning, because for those of you who, well, just like any job interview, often there are other people there as well in the waiting area to interview for the whatever it is. So we would be all these people that I worked with all the time, beginning in the early 1980s. It was such a party. And we'd see each other every other day at an audition, if not on a job. And there was a place called the Voice Caster, and we'd be in the lobby, and more often than not, one of the casting people would open the door and go, "Can y'all keep it down out there? We're trying to record."
How dare you?
Yeah, we can hear you in the booth. And so now with getting to do the Comic-Con circuits, I get to see these people that I, no longer am seeing in studio. And we get to hang, and it's like, it's like high school reunion.
Well, speaking of the Comic-Con circuit, you had told me as we were getting on here that you are getting ready to travel to go to a show in London. So have you been there before for this show, or?
First time I'm doing this show.
Okay.
So looking forward to seeing what the crowd is like over there. And a fun factoid for a deep dive, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the UK were called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. They found the word ninja too violent. So the theme song was recorded with this change in word, and I don't know how they did. If we ever said it in the script, I don't even remember. Did we go in and dub in the word hero? Aha, never thought of that. I honestly don't remember.
I'm sure one of the fans will be able to tell you, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So when you do these conventions and stuff, what do you usually hear from the fans? Is there one particular show? Is it, I grew up with you? What kind of reaction is usually with these shows?
Well, first of all, I got to say that my buddy Rob Paulson, who is one of the biggest animation voices
Love
out
Paul.
there, he played Raphael on the original Turtles. He was Pinky in Pinky and the Brain, Animaniacs, just tons of huge titles. He calls me up one day and he says, dude, there's this thing called Comic-Con, and I've been doing them for a minute, and I was thinking if we got the Turtles together, it would be really awesome. And I had no idea what he's talking about. I'd been to San Diego, which was the granddaddy of them all, years prior. I was looking for old comic books and such. I said, brother, who is going to want our autograph? We are so yesterday's news. And I had no, so he basically puts a gun to my head, and I said, all right, I'll try it. I had no idea.
Rob's usually on the pulse with that.
Oh, yeah. But I had no idea that these were so into nostalgia. So it is, I always knew I was going to be in the history book of people who had a successful career in voiceover. But again, I thought that would be on page 22, bottom left-hand corner, whatever.
Yeah.
And to come to these shows and have people wait in line for you, saying, thank you for my childhood. You guys were like brothers for me. I was an only child, or, broken home, or whatever. And various titles of mine, people will come up there shaking, or they're in tears, and all they really want is a hug from someone that was in their living room, every Saturday morning or after school. And it can be really touching, these people that come up. One of the most interesting questions, though, and we answer it quite, we don't mess around. People will say, what was it like when you got the role of Leonardo of the Turtles, or got to be a Ninja Turtle? And we all say it was nothing. It was a day's work.
Mm-hmm.
You can't know if anything's awesome until it has shown itself to be a hit. And as you mentioned to your listeners, I've been in the music since I was in the entertainment field since I was 6. And one thing you learn is you don't count your chickens before the ratings. And you can have a great script and it bombs. You can have a so-so script and it becomes a big hit. So we were all very fortunate to have very successful regular working careers. Every week having a few sessions. And so you don't look ahead. We got cast in this thing called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, whatever that is. What were they smoking? And you do the job. And the first, for fans of Turtles, there was a 5-episode arc, and that was just going to be a thing, and just let's see what happens. So we had 5 days employment. I went, great. I have 5 days work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's like. Now, when I was cast as Snoopy, that brought tears to me, because what an icon. And the Peanuts gang were like my Ninja Turtles. And I had the books and the pennants and would watch Great Pumpkin, still do, every Halloween, etc. So that, if someone were to say, what was it like to be cast as Snoopy? I went, a dream come true, a bucket list, never saw it coming, but one of the feather in my cap as far as if you were to ask me, which I think you did.
Well, I don't know. I guess ironic will be the word, but I heard a story. I was listening to another conversation you had with Jim Cummings, actually.
Yeah.
And there was possibly an opportunity to meet Charles Schultz, the founder of the Peanuts, but it never happened. What actually happened there?
Okay, that's all on me. And I must say that it is excuse me, I'm going to have a sip of water here.
All good.
Just came from a video game recording, screaming my lungs out. So a little hoarse. Ba-doom, boom. Schultz was not, they wanted to animate the Broadway show Snoopy the Musical. So it's funny, the dance I have to do with fans who come up and go, Snoopy never talked. I went, okay, well, go away, do your homework, and then come back and we'll talk. I'm joking. I would say, no, he did. There was a musical that they animated, and then there was a talking Snoopy doll, and there was a series called This Is America, Charlie Brown, with songs, and they needed Snoopy to sing. It was still his thought bubble, but he had a voice. And Schultz wasn't hands-on. But I've always prided myself in grabbing bulls by their horns for opportunities and such. And I regret that since Charles Schultz was my idol growing up, that I didn't say to the producers, hey guys, I'll take 10 minutes, whatever. Can you ask, him if I'm happy to drive up to Santa Paula where he was living and just meet him. Doesn't have to be any time. And I didn't do it. And I kick myself because it's out of character for me to not carpe diem,
Mm-hmm.
And then after the fact, I was brought back to do some work for the, what would it be, 40th anniversary of Peanuts? I can't remember what year, but they had my Snoopy in it, and they had asked me to be the announcer as well, which was such a treat to be chosen just to be wraparound, on the commercials and stuff for the show.
Absolutely.
And I was told by the producer, who had been with Sparky, which was his nickname, since the beginning, since Great Pumpkin and Charlie Brown Christmas, that although he was not hands-on on the projects, he personally chose me to be, if Snoopy would talk, what might he sound like? And I heard that, and again, my heart starts racing, and my eyes get all misty, and I just kicked myself again for not doing that.
Well, I don't want to keep you all day because you're going to be traveling and such. And like you said, you just got done a video game recording. But do you try to bookend some time when you go to these shows like London where you'll have an extra day or two to maybe take in the sights and the sounds of the area?
Well, I'm just back up a second. My other biggest title in my career is a game called Metal Gear Solid, in which I play an evil twin, Liquid Snake. And it's huge over there. It's actually second, if not tied, to Turtles with fan base. Depending on the place, I will tack on an extra day or two or whatever. Before I got the London show, I had literally just signed all the papers and rented the hotels and rented a car for a family vacation I was doing. Where? Outside of London. And then I get the call, hey, we got a show for you. And it wasn't close enough. So I came home for about 10 days. And like I said, I leave tonight. A couple of years ago, 4 years ago, golly, who knows how long now. But I had a show in Wales. And I was able to back up another family vacation where I did the show. And then I set up our family touring time to be the day after the show. So they flew from America, and I just took a puddle jumper, to meet them in Ireland. So sometimes I do, depending on where we are. When Turtles did a show in D.C., and I hadn't been there in years and wanted to, tour around a little bit, Mount Vernon and such. But most of the time, it is from the plane to the car to the hotel to the show. We will go out for dinner. Somebody finds a great, spot for dinner. Again, when you're inside the when you are not on camera, our show was as big as, let's say, Friends or Murphy Brown or whatever, Seinfeld, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's as big as you can get, but not with our faces. So you could walk. The great thing is you can walk down the street in full anonymity. We were in Chicago and wanted to go this really schmancy steak house that was, I don't remember the name, but it was just renowned. And our agent who travels with us, Jeff Zanini of Celebrity Talent Bookings, there was no reservations open. Now, the cliches of the star walks in and, I didn't know it was you. Actually, we do have a table. Well, we're going to walk in and nobody knows who we are. And he goes, hang on a second. I'm going to tell them who you are. I go, dude, don't do that. Come on. It's a cartoon, Ninja Turtles. You're going to just embarrass everybody. And he goes over to the maitre d', and the place was packed. So you know where this is going. He says, I've got that Ninja Turtles here with me. And lo and behold, why, yes, sir. You know what? We do have an opening for a party of 12, whatever we were, And I went, damn, son, I didn't know this. I didn't know this could have that kind of power as a children's show, because the guy he's asking is an adult, but he was probably in his PJs at the
When
time.
the show was on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny when you say that, and it's kind of like a conversation I have with folks along the way. And because there's stuff that I was born in 84, and there was stuff from when I was a little kid.
You're smacking the right age of it.
Yeah, there was stuff from when I was a little kid and into my, I guess, up to my teens that I liked and stuff. And there would be, and now doing what I do, get ready to hit 14 years, I'm friends with some of these people. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, and obviously hang out and deal with these people as people and not but it's still
right.
mind-boggling at times, like you said, the impact that some of this stuff has.
Well, and I can still fan out. I can geek a Zoid. Yeah. I did a show called Eek the Cat, and about 3 seasons, I think. Very, very funny show. And the mom on the show was Eleanor Donahue. And
really?
That may be a deep dive for I don't know what your target mark
our audience does deep dives, so go ahead.
Okay. She was the oldest daughter on a big 1950 show called Father Knows Best.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was the girlfriend on Coach, I think it was. But for me, Father Knows Best. So her character arrives, I don't remember. It wasn't in the very first show or whatever. She was introduced a few episodes later. And she walks in, and I'm like, oh my God, it can't be, is it? And we sat next to each other for 3 seasons. And I kept going, I'm sitting next to Eleanor Donahue, I dare say. And it was so fun to get to be friendly with her and still have my Geekazoid fanboy there with me. But things like that were such a treat.
Absolutely. Well, sir, I put it this way for a final question. I always like to ask this. Is there anything you haven't done in your extensive career that you would like to do at some point?
I have had a private and a career bucket list, and I've done pretty damn well with checking things off. I did my one-man show called Stop Me If I Tell You This, which you can find on my, here's a bloody pitch, find on my website at camclarkvoices.com. Hey kids, tell mom. I've released a couple of albums, Christmas album and another one of pop tunes. And career-wise, it's a little late now, but some of my cousins and I, right before COVID, for a couple of years, were working on a tribute to the King Sisters. And we got their old jazz charts, and damn, those were not easy to learn. But there were 5 of us, and we were going to do just a weekend of, with a full orchestra, a jazz orchestra of horns and everything, doing some of their best tunes from the 50s and 60s. And then COVID came, and like a lot of things, we were literally choosing a venue, literally driving around having interviews with venues. And then COVID, and that killed a lot of stuff. Some things survived and sprang back up. But it was just enough that I just couldn't get it up to mount it all over again. But I did try. And I guess in a perfect world, and everybody is so old now. My older siblings are 80 and 77. They still sound damn good. But I regret, that is a regret, but I did try. So I can honestly say, I've done all the avenues, with my family, touring around, doing musical variety stuff. And after the fact, I always wanted to be on TV. I wanted to continue that, be on a sitcom, be in the movies, whatever. As I got older and I fell into this accidental career, literally, I am glad that I have anonymity, and it also allows me this third act of going around to meet the fans. I'm pretty set career-wise, with satisfied with the journey from 1964 and still going strong. Never did not work. I've never had a day job, a straight job, whatever. I worked steadily from the time the show started up until this very day, like literally this morning. And it is not lost on me that a lot of folks cannot say what I just said about their career. Were there certain shows I wish I could have been on? Sure. Would I have loved to, been on Animaniac? Sure. Or, whatever. I got to be with Disney, and I replaced Matthew Broderick for Simba.
Mm-hmm.
And that was exciting. And then the Snoopy thing. So it's like, career-wise, I'm good. But hey, if
you checked the boxes.
What?
I said, yeah, you checked the boxes across the board.
I did. There are places on the planet I'd like to see. So if anybody out there is involved with Comic-Cons in Belgium or, Japan or whatever, I'd love to see more of the world. But I am pretty pretty dang satisfied with how the career has panned out and continues to go.
Well, Cam, safe travels to London. I hope for all the success in the world for now they're here, the King family. Oh, by the way, I should mention with this, because I'd kick myself if I didn't. As far as the book goes, the title actually came from your grandmother, from what I heard. So
Yes, now they're all here. My grandma, the only line she ever had on our show was on a Thanksgiving special. And we're singing Over the River and Through the Woods, going to Grandma, this big, gorgeous Victorian house that stood in as Grandma's place. And she's sitting on the porch. And everybody runs in and we're singing, blah, blah, blah. And the bit goes that everybody's in, then there's a beat. And my little cousin Adam, who's probably like 6 at the time, comes running up, gives Grandma a quick peck on the cheek, and runs on into the house to begin the Thanksgiving festivities. And Grandma says, now they're all here. And it has become, you know, like how people say that's what she said.
Mhm.
There are lines from our show, and that is one of them, that if we're at a family gathering and someone shows up as the last, or they're late or whatever, inevitably someone will say, now they're all here. So, little hallmark moment, but it has stayed with us. And the book you can get at Amazon, or you can reach out to me. The publisher is Rare Bird Lit, R-A-R-E, Bird, B-I-R-D, Lit, as in literature.
Nice. Well, safe travels to London, sir, and please keep in touch.
Thank you, Crazy Train, for having me on.
You are gonna need a bigger closet when you meet our new friends.
What?
Our friends over at Silk Screams out of Buffalo, New York is a diverse owned company that has a variety of shirts to fit your needs.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
Let's also not forget that Silk Screams also runs the semi-annual Buffalo Horror Garage Sale, which has tons of merchandise, celebrity guests, and tons of fun. Check our friends out over on their Big Cartel site to order stuff, or on social media for updates on merch, or on the Buffalo Horror Garage Sale. Visit our friends, like I said, at Silk Screams today.
Yeah, baby.
Thanks for listening to Crazy Train Radio. I am Tabitha Starcher, Head of Business Development for the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, better known as the Emmys. And I appreciate you tuning in today and listening to a little bit of behind the scenes at our award show.